In 1990, Home Alone brought roaring laughter to millions of families across the world. But 35 years later, when we look back, we realize that behind those smiles were cruel fates. Some were swallowed by fame far too early, and there were sudden deaths that shook all of Hollywood. Can you guess who they were? Let us uncover the shocking truths hidden behind this childhood classic. John Hurd as Peter McAllister. At the age of 44, John Hurd played Peter McAllister, the father in the classic film Home Alone, 1990. His frantic, helpless, yet deeply loving portrayal of a father searching for his son Kevin made the character a symbol of Christmas on screen. 2 years later, at 46, he returned in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, once again tying his name to the image of the bumbling father. Yet few knew that behind the smile of a successful actor raged the violent storms of his real life. John Hurd was born on March 7, 1946, in Washington, D.C., and his private life was haunted by the tragedies of marriage. 3 marriages led to 3 divorces, the most painful being his relationship with actress Melissa Leo. Their love ended quickly, leaving behind a brutal legal battle over custody of their son Jack, turning Hurd from the father adored on screen into a powerless one in real life. He was accused of assault, stalking, even trespassing, cases that splashed across the headlines and destroyed his reputation. The lonelier he became, the deeper he sank into mental chaos, living in torment and with the crushing sense of abandonment. It was a spiral of pain that made the once beloved man appear more tragic than ever. On July 21, 2017, John Hurd was found dead in a hotel in Palo Alto, California, just 2 days after undergoing back surgery. The official cause was a sudden heart attack, and he was 71 years old. Strong painkillers were found in his system, but they were not the direct cause of his death. Hurd's net worth at the time was estimated at about $3.5 million, a modest figure compared to a career that had spanned nearly 5 decades. Macaulay Culkin as Kevin McAllister. Macaulay Culkin became Hollywood's brightest child star when he played Kevin McAllister in Home Alone, 1990, at the age of 10. The mischievous boy left behind in a house at Christmas, with his sharp eyes and a smile both innocent and sly, was forever etched into the memory of millions of viewers worldwide. 2 years later, at just 12, Culkin reprised Kevin in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, cementing his place as the golden child of American cinema. But behind the glittering screen, a dark childhood was quietly consuming his life. Macaulay Carson Culkin was born on August 26, 1980, in New York. He was the third of 7 siblings, crammed into a small apartment in Manhattan. Poverty and instability cast shadows over his childhood. Yet the greatest pain came from his own father, Kit Kulkin, a domineering, jealous, and violent man. Macaulay later admitted that his father often beat him and controlled every aspect of his life. While the world praised the boy who played Kevin, inside that tiny apartment, Macaulay was just a trembling child facing his father's wrath, forced to star in film after film as nothing more than a money-making machine for the family. At 15, unable to endure any longer, Culkin did what few children could ever imagine. He took his parents to court to regain control over the $15 to $20 million fortune he had earned himself. But that victory only confirmed what his childhood had really been: completely stolen, replaced by loneliness, trauma, and scars that would never heal. Today, Macaulay Culkin is 45 years old. After years of scandals, addictions, and a failed early marriage, he has slowly found peace with his partner Brenda Song and their 2 young children. Although his career never again reached the heights of his childhood, Culkin still holds an estimated net worth of about $18 million, with a home in Los Angeles and an apartment in New York. Jerry Baman as Uncle Frank McAllister. At 49, Jerry Baman appeared in Home Alone, 1990, as Uncle Frank McAllister, the stingy, grumpy uncle who managed to make audiences both annoyed and laugh out loud. 2 years later, at 51, he returned in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, further cementing the image of the miserly uncle as an unforgettable part of the classic series. Yet the glittering lights on screen could not drive away the silent darkness that loomed over his real life. Jerry Bamman was born on September 18, 1941, in Independence, Kansas. He once had what seemed to be a stable marriage with director Emily Mann, but after many years, their life together collapsed painfully and ended in a bitter divorce. That unhappy ending not only took away his home life, but also fractured his relationship with his only son, Nicholas, a rift that deepened over the years. Estranged from his family, Bamman threw himself into work, but most of his career revolved around minor supporting roles. Financial instability clung to him constantly, turning life into a string of stressful and hopeless days. On top of that, decades of heavy smoking as a form of escape slowly ruined his health. Behind the image of a stern actor on the screen, Bamman was, in truth, a broken man struggling with loneliness, illness, and emotional exhaustion. In December 2024, Jerry Bamman passed away at the age of 83 due to complications from an accidental fall, leaving the public in shock. His life ended quietly with a modest estate of about $1 million, consisting only of a house in Los Angeles and a few old cars. Joe Peshi, as Harry Lime. At 47, Joe Peshi played Harry Lime, the cunning, hot-tempered yet comical burglar in Home Alone, 1990. His character, alongside Marv, became a frightening yet hilarious memory for millions of young viewers. 2 years later, at 49, Peshi returned in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, solidifying the image of the clumsy yet unforgettable criminal. But while audiences laughed at Harry Lime's antics, Peshi himself was enduring personal tragedies no one could have imagined. Joe Peshi was born on February 9, 1943, in Newark, New Jersey. He grew up in a poor household of Italian immigrant workers, with a father who drove a forklift and a mother who worked as a hairdresser. Yet the true heartbreak of his life lay in his relationships. Peshi went through 3 failed marriages, each one leaving him with deeper emotional wounds. The most painful was his marriage to actress Claudia Harrow, once believed to be his destined love. After their separation, Harrow was convicted in a shocking case involving an attempted murder plot against another ex-husband. Though not directly involved, Peshi was dragged into the media storm, his reputation overshadowed by the horrifying scandal. A man who had once won an Academy Award with Goodfellas now found himself facing public scorn and suspicion. On screen, he was fierce and unyielding. Off-screen, he was a lonely man, repeatedly retreating from Hollywood, exhausted by pressure and personal pain. By 2025, Joe Peshi has reached the age of 82. He has chosen a reclusive life, far removed from scandals, appearing only occasionally in rare projects such as The Irishman, 2019. His net worth is estimated at around $50 million, with a luxurious mansion in New Jersey and an expensive car collection. Yet none of it could fill the void of losses he endured in his real life. John Candy, as Gus Polinski. John Candy appeared in Home Alone, 1990, as Gus Polinski, the cheerful polka king who helped Kevin's mother get home in her moment of desperation at the age of 40. With just a short supporting role, he gave the film one of its most heartfelt and emotional moments. But while audiences laughed at his humor, Candy in real life was battling hidden pain and a body increasingly worn down by illness. John Franklin Candy was born on October 31, 1950, in Newmarket, Ontario, Canada. Tragedy struck early when his father died of heart disease when Candy was only 4 years old, leaving a void that would never be filled in the boy's heart. Fatherless, Candy grew up in the struggles of a working-class Catholic family. He once dreamed of becoming a professional football player, but a serious knee injury in his teenage years crushed that dream, pushing him into a dead end. That physical wound soon became a psychological one, planting in him feelings of failure and a lasting insecurity. As he grew older, he sank deeper into battles with weight, anxiety, and panic attacks. The pressures of work, relentless schedules, and his habits of overeating, smoking, drinking, and even cocaine use slowly destroyed his body. In his marriage, Candy had a wife, Rosemary Hobor, and 2 young children, but the strain of illness and career pressures also filled his home with sadness. He tried dieting and exercising to escape the hereditary fate of heart disease, but that shadow never let him go. On March 4, 1994, at just 43 years old, John Candy died suddenly in his sleep in Mexico from a heart attack while filming Wagons East. His premature passing shocked the world, especially since just a day earlier he had been full of energy on set. Candy left behind an estimated net worth of around $10 million, including a home in Toronto and many film memorabilia. At his grave in Holy Cross Cemetery, Los Angeles, fans still leave flowers and photos from Uncle Buck or Home Alone. It stands as a heartbreaking reminder that he lived to bring laughter to millions. But in the end, he left in solitude, leaving behind an irreplaceable emptiness in the hearts of his fans. Catherine O'Hara as Kate McAllister. At 36, Catherine O'Hara transformed into Kate McAllister, the frantic, grief-stricken mother who lost her child in Home Alone, 1990. Her on-screen worry, love, and desperate longing for reunion touched the hearts of millions around the world. 2 years later, at 38, she returned in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, once again leaving an indelible mark on generations of viewers. Yet behind the glowing lights and endless applause, O'Hara's private life carried harsh shadows few knew about. Catherine Ann O'Hara was born on March 4, 1954, in Toronto, Canada, into an Irish Catholic family with 7 children. From an early age, she grew up in crowded, modest conditions, always feeling like just a small, lost voice in an overly full household. That childhood left her with a sense of loneliness, even when surrounded by people. As an adult, O'Hara seemed to have found stability when she met production designer Bo Welch. They married in 1992 and had 2 sons, Matthew and Luke. But happiness did not last forever. After 24 years together, the marriage ended in a bitter divorce, leaving O'Hara with an emptiness she could never fully ease. The family breakdown came just as she was also facing Hollywood's unforgiving judgment. The calls came less often, scripts arrived more rarely, and the silence of the stage pushed O'Hara into long, sleepless nights staring at the mirror, asking herself, "Do audiences still need me?" It was a period when she lived with depression, loneliness, and the fear of aging hanging over her like a suspended sentence. Now, Catherine O'Hara is 71 years old. After all the heartbreak and pain, she has chosen a quieter life, only taking part in projects that truly matter, while spending the rest of her time with her children. Her net worth is estimated at around $10 million, including a luxury home in Los Angeles and an apartment in New York City. Roberts Blossom as Old Man Marley. At 66, Roberts Blossom became an unforgettable face in cinema history when he played Old Man Marley in Home Alone, 1990. The lonely old man, first misunderstood as frightening but ultimately revealed to be a quiet hero, brought tears and emotion to audiences everywhere. With just a few brief scenes, Blossom crafted a deeply human character, reminding viewers that behind sorrowful eyes always lies an untold story. Yet what chills audiences most is that in real life, Roberts Blossom's life was also marked by loneliness and loss, eerily similar to the character he portrayed. Roberts Scott Blossom was born on March 25, 1924, in New Haven, Connecticut. He grew up in a working-class Catholic family, but his childhood was scarred by tragedy at an early age. When he was only 4, his father died of heart disease, leaving the family in hardship and instability. That wound left him with a lifelong fear of loss. Blossom sought comfort in marriage, but both of his unions, with Beverly Schmidt and later with Marilyn Orshan, ended in heartbreak and dissolution. His second wife even passed away in 1982, leaving him with a grief that never healed. Though he had 2 children, Michael and Deborah, the generational gap and his reserved nature made their relationships distant. As he grew older, he withdrew further, living reclusively and avoiding the spotlight. On July 8, 2011, Roberts Blossom passed away at the age of 87 in a nursing home in California due to cerebrovascular disease. He left quietly, without stage lights, without applause, leaving behind only a few personal mementos and a modest net worth of around $1 million. Daniel Stern as Marv Merchants. Daniel Stern became an inseparable part of childhood memories for millions when he played Marv Merchants, the dim-witted, clumsy yet endearing burglar in Home Alone, 1990, at the age of 33. Paired with Joe Peshi, he delivered chase sequences that were both tense and hilarious, making audiences both scared and laugh until they cried. 2 years later, at just 35, Stern reprised his role in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, solidifying the image of the foolish burglar as an immortal part of cinema. But while audiences remembered his high-pitched screams and awkward antics, in real life Stern was struggling with wounds and difficulties that few could have imagined. Daniel Jacob Stern was born on August 28, 1957, in Bethesda, Maryland, into a modest working-class family. His father worked in social services, his mother ran a daycare center. Outwardly, it seemed a stable home, but deep inside, Stern carried feelings of inadequacy and constant worry about the future. His path in marriage was also filled with turbulence. Stern married Laura Matos in 1980, and together they raised 3 children, Henry, Sophie, and Ella Marie. But family life was far from the perfect picture. The pressures of work, back-to-back roles, and the relentless race with Hollywood often kept Stern away from home, creating a growing distance. He also went through a financial crisis after investing heavily during the dot-com boom, only to watch his career and wealth teeter. The burden of bills, marital arguments, and the weight of public opinion pushed him many times to the edge of despair. Stern once admitted that at times he felt just like Marv himself, clumsy, defeated, and laughed at by the world. Today, Daniel Stern is 68 years old. After all the upheavals, he has chosen to step back, seeking peace on a farm in Southern California where he spends most of his time with his family, tending to his vineyard, and writing. His net worth is estimated at around $20 million, including a home in Malibu, a luxury car collection, and a large piece of land in California. Devon Ratray as Buzz McAllister. At 13, Devon Ratray became one of the unforgettable faces of cinema when he played Buzz McAllister, the arrogant older brother who bullied Kevin in Home Alone, 1990. The teenage boy with the tough expression and sarcastic lines left audiences both annoyed and amused. Just 2 years later, at 15, he returned in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, once again cementing his place in viewers' memories as the iconic, unpleasant big brother. But while audiences laughed every Christmas, Devon stepped into adulthood with dark shadows waiting ahead. Devon D. Ratray was born on January 11, 1977, in New York City, into an artistic family where both his parents were actors. It might have seemed like a solid foundation, but his childhood was not easy. Devon grew up under constant comparison with his parents and the heavy expectation that he too must succeed on stage and screen. Early fame made him the center of attention, but it also robbed him of a peaceful childhood. While kids his age played freely, he was in front of the camera, forced to express emotions from a script rather than his own. That pressure planted seeds of mental turmoil, turning him into a hot-tempered, unstable young man desperate to prove his worth. Those inner struggles erupted violently in adulthood. In 2021, Devon shocked the public when he was accused of strangling his ex-girlfriend in an Oklahoma hotel after an argument. According to records, he allegedly pressed his hands around her neck and uttered chilling words. "This is how you die." The case left him facing criminal charges and intense public backlash. But the pain didn't stop there. Just a year later, in 2022, he was investigated for allegedly raping a longtime friend back in 2017 after allegedly drugging and assaulting her. Though he denied the accusations, these mounting scandals dragged his already struggling career to rock bottom, branding him with an image of violence and corruption. The humorous roles he once played were completely eclipsed by shocking scandals. Today, at 48, Devon Ratray has nearly vanished from Hollywood. He lives quietly, clinging to what little privacy remains. His net worth is down to around $400,000, a tiny sum compared to other stars of his era. He owns a small house in Los Angeles and a few cars, but the chance to return to stardom is gone. Kieran Kulkin as Fuller McAllister. At 8 years old, Kieran Kulkin made himself memorable to global audiences in Home Alone, 1990, as Fuller McAllister, the little cousin with glasses, famous for the running gag of wetting the bed. What seemed like a trivial role became etched into the memories of millions, a classic detail in family film history. 2 years later, at just 10, Kieran reprised his role in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, once again linking the Culkin name with innocence, childhood charm, and a subtle touch of haunting reality. Kieran Kyle Culkin was born on September 30, 1982, in New York City, the fourth of 7 siblings. He grew up in a cramped Yorkville apartment where the entire family squeezed into a space barely fit for a married couple. Instead of a warm childhood, Kieran endured the harshness of his father, Kit Culkin, a failed actor who poured his bitterness and jealousy onto his children. Kieran later recalled being neglected, treated as a burden, and receiving genuine love only from his mother, Patricia Brentrup, who carried the enormous family with her worn, calloused hands. Material scarcity, combined with emotional abuse, turned Kieran's childhood into a survival battle where his mother's affection was his only refuge against the pain inflicted by his father. Those psychological wounds did not fade with adulthood. Kieran often struggled in personal relationships, haunted by fears of abandonment and loneliness. Though he found love and built a family with Jazz Charton, having 2 young children, he admitted that he still carries the fear of becoming a bad father like his own. Kieran also battled mental health challenges. The brighter the spotlight shone, the deeper his inner emptiness grew. At times, he even considered walking away from it all, as the harshness of his past continued to haunt him, robbing him of the ability to fully enjoy the present. By 2025, Kieran Kulkin is 43 years old. He remains one of Hollywood's most respected actors, with a substantial body of work and numerous prestigious awards. His net worth is estimated at around $5 million, including a home in Los Angeles, an apartment in New York, and luxury cars. Eddie Bracken as Mr. Duncan. At 77, Eddie Bracken appeared in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, 1992, as Mr. Duncan, the kind-hearted toy store owner, a symbol of generosity amid the glitz of New York City. Though only a supporting character, his image as a compassionate man left a lasting impression, becoming a highlight in a career that had already spanned more than half a century. Edward Vincent Bracken was born on February 7, 1915, in Astoria, Queens, New York, into an ordinary working-class family. From the age of 9, he was already on stage performing vaudeville acts, both to help support his family and to nurture his dream of becoming an artist. What seemed like a bright childhood was, in reality, filled with hardship. Eddie's first marriage ended quickly in failure, leaving him bitter and disillusioned. Later, he found stability with his second wife, Connie Nickerson. Yet, even with a long-lasting marriage, Bracken wrestled with a deep conflict. the applause of the stage on one side, and a family life too often neglected due to his relentless schedule on the other. He would later admit with regret that he had allowed his career to consume precious time with his loved ones. The cheers of the audience could never quite fill the loneliness that came when the curtain closed. On November 14, 2002, Eddie Bracken passed away in Glen Ridge, New Jersey, at the age of 87, just 3 months after Connie died. The back-to-back deaths of the couple led many to believe his heart gave out under the weight of unbearable loss. He left behind an estate estimated at around $2 million, including a small home in Glen Ridge and a few theatrical keepsakes. A life filled with laughter on screen, but behind it were tears few ever knew. And after all this, 35 years have passed. Home Alone is no longer just a legendary Christmas film. It has become a mirror reflecting the real-life tragedies of the very people who once brought us laughter. Among these familiar faces, whose story broke your heart the most? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you can continue uncovering with us the untold stories behind Hollywood's shining lights.